So if you're new to this channel and you stick around, your whole world's going to change. Your whole world view is going to change. And if your whole world view is going to change, that means your whole world's going to change. It's impossible not to change. If the inside changes, the outside has to change. And so I'm going to do an audio, but I'm going to do this first just to show you that it's not scripted. I know my stuff. I know what I'm talking about. There's no script. There's no piece of paper. And so what I'm getting ready to tell you will solve all your problems, solve all your mysteries that you've ever had. It'll answer every question that you've ever had your whole life. It'll even solve your marriage problems. It'll solve all your relationship problems. It solves everything. It solves your job problems, your career choices, what you want to do in life. It solves it all. Now, you might not be able to see it when I start talking. It might take you 10 years to see what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Some people might get it like this. But let me start with this example, and then I'll use this one example. I could use 10 different examples because it's all a fractal. But anyway, I'll use this one example to kind of introduce what I'm going to teach you. And because I've listened to 40,000 sermons, the preachers don't even know this. They don't even teach it. And if they got it, if there's one out there that does, you know. Notice that tag is FAK, fake. Most stuff around you is just fake. And notice the 13 is the AC, 1313 Mockingbird Lane. But the AC sine wave is to move you away from the fake mind into the spirit mind and to get victory. See that right there? The 1313 Mockingbird Lane is to cut the flesh, which is the fake mind, to move you into victory. And notice the words C and M together. See that? C and M together. Overlapping, intertwined. Oh, Lord help me. So anyway, the farmer plants a seed, and he goes through a few cycles until he plants a watermelon seed, and he goes through a few cycles until the watermelon appears, right? And once the watermelon appears, you notice the watermelon has the seed is within the seed. There's a lot of seeds inside the watermelon, right? The seed is within the seed. The truth was within the truth. The fractal's within the fractal. So one seed creates a watermelon with a bunch of other seeds. There's your fractal. There's your be fruitful and multiply. I don't know why I'm tongue-tied, because I should be speaking normally. Maybe it's because I hadn't eaten anything. Let me say it again. The seed goes into the ground. It produces a fruit, aka fruit of the Spirit, and it makes copies of itself. Be fruitful and multiply in Genesis is actually talking about walking in the Spirit, so you can give out the good news and be fruitful and multiply and create copies of Jesus. Because we don't point them to ourselves, we point them to Jesus. We don't preach ourselves, we preach Christ. We don't magnify ourselves and say, oh, I'm perfect. No, we say Jesus is perfect. But when you take up your cross daily and walk in the Spirit, you're actually able to reach more people because you're in peace. Because the Spirit of truth encapsulates peace. And as I unfold what I'm getting ready to say, it should bring peace into your heart, your mind, your life. If you get convicted of sin, that means you need to run to Jesus and get saved. And that's where you get your peace. Well, I don't have any peace. There's no peace, saith the Lord, to the wicked. The reason you don't have any peace because you're wicked. Your heart's deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? Because everybody's is until you get saved. He that hath the Son hath life. He that hath the Son hath life. He that hath not the Son hath not life, and the wrath of God abides on them. Now, going back to the seed in the ground. The watermelon was already in the seed. The truth of the watermelon was already in the seed. The reality of the watermelon was already in the seed that was planted. Notice the word seed, S-E-E-D. If you want to see, you got to go through the door. Jesus is the door. So you want to see the truth that the watermelon was already in the seed, and it just needed a few cycles, a little bit of water put on it, and a few cycles. And then the watermelon appears. Oh, there's a watermelon. If I go over here and I look in the grass over there and I say, oh, there's a watermelon, it just appeared. Where did that come from? Oh, there was a seed. There was a seed before that watermelon appears, so you don't even have to question where it came from. You know there's a seed. So if somebody's throwing a fit, acting crazy, cursing you out, paranoid, accusing you of the thing that they're doing, you know that person has trauma. It didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was already there. This bridge right here didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was written down on a piece of blueprint somewhere. It was the blueprints. It was written on the blueprints. But before that, it was in the mind of an architect as an archetype of a bridge that he's seen 1,000 other bridges. So even the architect was not the originator. It was a concept before he was even born. The architect just was say, hey, I know what a bridge is because I've seen them before. And what's the bridge? Jesus is the bridge. So let's go back to my teaching. I don't know if I'll finish it because I'm going up here to the restaurant and get me a breakfast plate. And the only reason I'm going up here is because it's familiar. They know what kind of stuff to serve. When they see me walk in the door, they already know what I'm going to order or what I need. They already knew before I opened my mouth what I wanted to eat. So God wrote down a script before the foundation of the world, and it was the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world. And we see in Genesis 3 the seed. It was already written before the foundation of the world, but Genesis is the seed. The book of Genesis is the seed. Her seed shall bruise his head, and his seed shall bruise his heel. That prophecy in Genesis 3:16 or so, somewhere in that, is the seed. And everything else after that is the revelation. And the book of Revelation is the culmination of the ages. So there's no time, there's no space. All truth is happening now. Everything that happened in Genesis 3 is happening now. It's just being revealed. The flesh mind is blind. The flesh mind is stuck in time. The flesh mind is stuck in a linear time mindset. The spirit mind is outside of time in Christ. And so we can look back at Genesis 3, and we can look at Genesis, and we can look at Ephesians, and we can look at the book of Acts, and we can look at the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. We can look at the Gospels, and we can see Jesus appeared on the scene because the seed was already prophesied in Genesis 3. And not only was it prophesied in Genesis 3, it was actually prophesied in Genesis 1 through 3, because the flesh versus the spirit versus the natural is a overarching fractal pattern of all things. And so if I look at that tire right there, the rubber represents the flesh, the air in the tire represents the air, the spirit. Joint heirs. So your flesh body is nothing but sin, and you're going down, and you got to drink, and you got to do drugs, and you got to smoke, and you got to take Valiums, and you got to take Xanax, and you got to take some kind of drug because your flesh is trying to live. Your zombie dead flesh, your mortal body is dead, and you don't have spirit because you're not born again. So you're just trying to live and function in a dead body without the spirit. So you're a flat tire without Jesus. Without Jesus, you're a flat tire. I already know your habits. It's a fractal. You can see the archetypes from Genesis to Revelation. I know. Because it tells you to give strong drink to those who are perishing. In the book of Proverbs, it might be in the New Testament, be not drunk with wine, but be filled with the Spirit. But I think it's Proverbs, somewhere in there. Somebody can find it. I'll find it later. Give strong drink to those that are perishing. Why? And it could be spiritually perishing, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. It could be that you're perishing in many different fractal dimensions, many different ways. I'm experimenting with turmeric on the skin. You can see my skin is yellow because I used the turmeric. It's pretty cool to use spices to try to get some longevity in this thing. I just noticed it when I did this. I thought my skin looks yellow. As I'm talking about the drinking, I look at my skin and I was thinking, oh, that reminds me of, I had a renter one time, his eyes were, I said, man, your eyes are yellow, what's wrong? He said, yeah, I got to go to the hospital. And he went to the hospital and got better. I said, man, your eyes look better. A month later. And he went straight back to drinking. He's probably dead now. I don't know where he moved somewhere, but he's probably dead by now. He's probably dead because he's taking that mortal body, that dead body, trying to energize it with something in the natural plane. And you see, God created heaven and earth, spirit and natural. If you eat and drink of only the natural, you will die. But if you eat and drink of that eternal life, something outside of time, outside the natural, you will live forever. And not only will you live, but in Romans 8:11, he says the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead will quicken your mortal bodies. It will give you health in your natural body if you eat of that spiritual truth. The Word of God. Jesus. They said you break the law. Jesus said, I am the law. You break the prophets. I am the prophets. I am that I am. As soon as I said law, there's a policeman over there, and he's coming over. He's following me. I guess he saw me on the phone. He's going to try to give me a ticket. I ain't even doing nothing. Let's see if he comes around that corner. Jesus is the way, the truth, the life. It was all written about him. So Genesis was the seed. You see the prophecy in Genesis 3, and you actually see it in Genesis 1 if you have enough spiritual understanding to see it. And I'll post, and I'll show you how to see it. I'll post the little PDF booklet right underneath. You can actually see the gospel in Genesis 1. And I told a preacher that one time when I first got saved. He said, what are you talking about? I said, the gospel's right here in Genesis 1, man. He didn't, he thought, he laughed. He couldn't see it. He's a good preacher. And then I showed him, one time I was talking to him, I showed him all my notes that I took. He said, where'd you get all these notes? Listening to the radio, taking notes, 40,000 sermons. I took notes on so many preachers, and I learned how this thing's set up. I know what I'm talking about. That's how I know that what I'm telling you is the truth. And if you accept it, fine. If you reject it, fine. It's your choice. I'm not going to tell you how to think or live or believe or anything. You have to make your own decision. That's what the free will is about, right? You can't make, let's say a man loves a woman. He can't make her. And a woman loves a man. She can't make him love her. And he might love her. He might love her, but he knows it won't work out. And she might love him, and she knows it won't work out. They might love each other, but they know it'll be trouble with a capital T. Or they know that there's just too many things going on that wouldn't work it out. I mean, there's a lot of love stories that should have been and have been that they just never could meet together, you know. But that's all right. It'll be resolved in eternity future. In eternity past, the truth was written, completely revealed. Eternity future, the truth was written, completely revealed. In the eternal now mindset, the truth is written and it's been revealed. But the flesh mind is not in the eternal now. The flesh mind is selfish. Spell it backward. Spell it backwards. H-S-E-L-F. Eternally. The letter H is eternal. Selfish. The flesh mind is divided. The flesh mind has no unity. When you say Jesus is mentioned in Genesis 3, the seed, the whole truth is right there in Genesis 3. And some flesh mind says, no, it ain't. Yeah, it is. You just have to unfold it. It's kind of like the watermelon's already in the seed. It just has to flourish and unfold. And so revelation is the culmination. The word revelation is to reveal. And so what happened in Genesis 3 is just unfolding. There's no time. Genesis 3 is happening now. But the more you unfold it and the more you reveal the truth, we're approaching revelation. The appearance of revelation is getting faster and faster. This is how you can tell the future, because you saw what happened in the pandemic. They wanted to see how many people were in the hive. And so as long as the church is here, we're holding back the hive mind. The church and the gospel, the born again saints, hold back the Antichrist. There's many Antichrists waiting on the scene. Elon Musk could be one of them. There's a lot of Antichrists just sitting there waiting to be revealed. But it's all about waiting for the church to be called up. Peace, peace, sudden destruction, 3.5 years. 3.5 years of the angels giving the gospel, the judgment. The elect saints come back with Jesus to rule and reign for 1,000 years. But you still, during that 1,000 years, still got flesh creatures. The born-again saints will be the shapeshifters. We'll have a spirit body, but we'll look like we have a flesh body. We can shapeshift. And so, we're spiritual, but to the flesh mind, it looks flesh. That's why when you look at an angel, if an angel came up, I would only recognize the angel as a human, but it's an angel. Same thing. I know that I've run into a few angels in my time, I'm pretty sure. So when an angel walks by, you say, let's say there was a homeless person right there begging for food, and it was an angel, and you're like, and if you look at that person and judge them, and you say, that's pathetic. Why are you begging for food? Go get you a job. That might be an angel. That might be an angel testing your heart. But it looks human. That angel, he looks human, but he might just be testing your heart to see if your heart's right. Hello? So here's my teaching, and I'm going to do an audio and just mainly focus on I'm not even going to get sidetracked. I'm going to show you how Genesis had the whole truth, the seed. Revelation is the watermelon that appears. The watermelon's already in the seed. But the cycles of time, the age of grace, the age of law, the age of consciousness, the age of innocence, the tribulation period, the millennium, it's all just a revealing of Jesus. But it was already right there in Genesis, and it was actually before the whole creation, the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world. But in Genesis 3, her seed shall bruise his head, and his seed shall bruise his heel. In other words, The flesh persecutes the spirit. The unsaved have to attack us because it was right there in Genesis. So if you feel like the unsaved are attacking your heel and chasing your heel, just like Wally Cody chases Roadrunner, it was already revealed. There's nothing new. You already know they're going to attack you. You already know what their game is. There's no new game. Let me see if I can use their internet to upload this. We'll see. I'm going to have to wait. It is probably about 1 o'clock. Let's see if this internet will upload it for me.